Okay, so the first thing on our agenda is public comment. Public participation is encouraged in the Laurel School District. All meetings of the board will be open to the public except as provided by law. Scheduled meetings of the board may be recorded. Audience members may address the board during public comment for non-agenda interests or during the discussion of the relevant printed agenda item. Your attendance is welcome. If you plan to speak to the board, please look over the information on the agenda and complete the public comment section on the other side of the card located at the back of the room and pass that to Mr. Torx or myself. Is there any public comment for non-agenda items? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on. We don't have any correspondence this meeting. The next item is a presentation from Coldwell Banker Commercial.
Good evening. Nathan Matlich, broker owner, Coldwell Banker Commercial Real Estate. Joined here by George Warmer, who's our supervising broker. We're obviously representing you in the sale of the administrative building. When we had the multiple counter offer scenario and chose Mr. Nelson as our buyer, he basically had agreed to a buy-sell contract that had a couple different contingency dates, throughout the year, with the closing date scheduled to be March 1st of 2025. The most important contingency dates that he had for inspection of this building was August 1st. I'm pleased to announce that we had received a letter from his attorney. Did Brittany Hunter get a chance of getting this in all of your packets? Okay. We were very delighted to receive this letter. I'll just go ahead and read it out loud because on August 1st, our buyer had till August 1st in order to do all of his inspections. And then there's additional contingencies where if he was going to go through a zone change for this building, he'd have to do it by this fall. But in the letter, it was written by his attorney. Mr. Nelson says, "Dear Mr. Matlich and Mr. Warmer, this law firm represents We Can Do It, LLC, and Paul Nelson, our buyers. Please be advised that We Can Do It, LLC, and Paul Nelson are waiving the inspection contingency, the zoning contingency, and any and all other contingencies spelled out in the option to purchase and multiple counteroffer documents previously executed by these parties. This letter shall serve as notice that We Can Do It, LLC, and Mr. Nelson are formally exercising their option to purchase the property. Please contact me if you have any questions." So when George and I received this letter, we were very excited. Usually when buyers are purchasing very large, expensive, especially old buildings, there's usually numerous things that arise that will make them sometimes come back to the table, want to negotiate or renegotiate or address certain things. So this was excellent news that he's waiving basically all of his contingencies and plans to move forward with the purchase of the property. I spoke with Mr. Nelson, and there's still a lot that he has to do in order to get ready to go forward with some of his plans of what he wants to do with this building after he purchases it. So I'd imagine that both he and his architects and engineers will probably be coming back into the building to continue to do some of their studies and work on some of their architectural plans and those sorts of things to get ready for his closing. When I was talking with Paul, he had said that he'd be more than happy to share some of those designs and different ideas and things that he has for the building as he moves forward. So, if and when we get those, we're more than happy to share those with you. But, this document says that, we're full steam ahead, and he's still excited to move forward with that. So, the plan would be that he'd close on March 1st, and then the school would lease back and stay here and have until June 11th is how the original documents were written in order to occupy and then ultimately move out. So any specific questions? Do they have?
An additional deposit that they need to make now that they've waived all the contingencies?
So at the time of our buy-sell contract, they gave us a non-refundable $10,000 option money, which has gone to the school. I believe Matt cashed a check. Yeah. on behalf of the school. So correct me if I'm wrong. That will serve as their $10,000 of earnest money. So we have actually already received that. Usually that $10,000 stays with the title company, but because he did an option to purchase, you are already in possession of that $10,000.
Any other questions, comments? Any public questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. Thank you for coming and giving us the update.
Welcome. It was a good update.
Okay, next on the agenda is the owner's rep construction update.
Good evening, trustees. Start off with schedule. West is on schedule, make good progress on the gym addition as well as the classroom additions. Renovation work is continuing. We did take a big bite of renovation to really get through the project. We're confident we're going to make it, but everybody is working hard, and Lang's team is working really hard, but we still feel comfortable that we're going to make it within time. The controls bid that I had brought up last time, that we were not awarding to low. Lang was able to get through the vetting on number 2. We looked at everything. I'm good with it as well. Allied will be the controls contractor. Mogan, continuing work on structural steel and decking. I'm sure everybody's had an opportunity to see it. It's flying up. We're doing really well from that standpoint. And also to go back to West, you also seen the walls we're getting enclosed, which is really important, obviously, because winter's coming, so that we're in a good position there. But Mogan structural steel decking, they're actually starting the second floor deck pours, and we'll move right into the third floor deck pours here very shortly. Underground is almost complete with all tie-ins to our water and sewer. Northwest Energy is starting trenching for their power to the site. Wayne and I and the team had met with Northwest Energy. We figured out how we're bringing in all of our power from across the streets. We got all the boring figured out. The number 2 controls contractor bid on that project was vetted and will be awarded to Electrical Controls. Align that. They're a good contractor. They met all the hurdles. So that's where that'll be getting awarded to. Graph. We had a kickoff meeting last week with Matt, Wayne, Julie, and A&E to scope the projects kind of based on what you guys had in the bond. So I think they've got a good understanding of what we're asking them to do. We did bring up, I know that there was some murmur about the trees. We told them the boulevard trees need to remain. So if there's anything out there, they are going to design around those boulevard trees. So there shouldn't be an issue with that. So we'll be getting a proposal from them. We want to get them moving on that. From a budget perspective, the last time we met, I told you I felt pretty comfortable. We had a large chunk of graph paid for. As we've worked through the off-site development at Mogan, I think we're getting very comfortable with the numbers we believe we're going to see. And I had put a pretty good number to account for that. I believe a lot of that is going to come right back into our budget. So I'm really confident we're going to get graph. So now it's not even we have a portion of graph. I can say with almost certainty that I believe we're going to be able to work through graph and have no problem getting that project complete. We have FF&E out for bid, or getting ready to go out for bid. And as we've been working through those budgets with A&E, working with all the district teams, that looks like we're going to come in pretty well with that. That's all the furniture, fixtures, equipment, desks, chairs, all the massive amounts of infrastructure as far as desks, chairs, and things like that. We're looking like we're going to be well within our budget, what I'm hearing. So it sounds like we're going to do pretty good from that perspective. Obviously, till bid day, we won't know, but we're feeling good about it. which also feeds in back into the budget. Better we do there, the better it is for our overall budget. South, we did meet with South last week as well, with A&E. I know that Wayne and Matt and his team have been working through the layouts for the administration to be able to fit within the footprint of South. And, so I had my first kind of glance at the plans. I know that they've been moving walls and reception areas and all that. And it looks to me like that's starting to come to coalesce pretty well. I think that project, with the budget that I had established for that project, whether you guys utilize the funds from this building or if we have, enough funds that come back into the budget that we can utilize, I actually think you're going to be fine, be able to get South as well. So I'm cautiously optimistic is a good way to put it. And I'm knocking on wood. Everybody's been working hard and in the same direction. And right now we haven't had any large hiccups that we've had to burn any contingencies. So I'm pretty comfortable with where we're at. Take any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Right now, what do you think the timeline is for South, since we need to be out of this building by June?
We probably can't really start working on South until we've exited it next spring. So probably mid-June-ish before they're really going on it. Maybe there's a few things they can do before the kids are out, but they can't do any inside work before the kids are out. So essentially, we're going to have to decide, we haven't totally decided where's the admin going to be for 3 months span in there while they go in and attack South. So, but they won't be able to do South until June of 25. And we'll figure something out, but we don't have a great plan right this moment.
And we'd actually kicked around like Graph too, but the problem with Graph is we have to go in and do abatement in Graph in June. So if we can actually tear the building down, so we don't really have the opportunity to utilize Graph unless we hold off on that and then do South and then try to jump back and do Graph.
Maybe we go to the middle school, maybe we go to the high school for the summer. We're not sure. We may all go and share one big room in a library. We have no idea. No plans. Right now, we had a plan, but the plan fell through because if we're going to be able to jump on Graph, we want to jump on Graph. We don't want to have that all slowed down because we have. So we will go somewhere.
Is there any possibility that the buyer will allow us an extension on our lease back? Have we
Haven't asked.
asked that, or should
Haven't
we
asked.
maybe ask that? I don't know, that might be something to,
Yeah, it's an option. We have not asked, but it's something we certainly could look at.
anything else from the board? Anything from the public? Hearing none, we will
Thank you.
move on. Thank you for being here. The next agenda item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Donnie, a second by Jenny. Do we have any discussion or questions from the board? Anything from the audience, public? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. We have a motion to approve by Donnie, a second by Jenny. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we're on to action items. The NTSBA annual meeting items. So these are the items that, because they didn't have a quorum at the annual meeting, each member school has to vote individually on this. So we can go through them individually and approve them. We can approve them as a group, however we would like to do that. So I'll take a motion unless everyone wants to discuss first.
I'd move to approve the 7 items for the MTSBA annual meeting.
So I have a motion to approve by Donnie, second by Chris. Is there any discussion or questions? Donnie, do you have anything to?
Not really. It's pretty straightforward. The first couple of items are just guidance documents that they review and approve annually. The dues piece, we already knew about that because we've already renewed ours, so that was good news. A couple of changes on 4 and 5, but if you were interested, they were highlighted and easy to find within the document. Didn't see anything of concern there, and the other two are just nominations, so pretty simple.
Any questions from the board? Any questions, comments from the public? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. Donnie moved to approve item A, MTSBA annual meeting items, with Chris seconding. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the fiscal year-end transfer authorization. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to authorize administration to transfer fiscal year cash balances as deemed necessary.
I'll second.
A motion by Jenny, a second by Donnie. Is there any discussion or questions from the board?
My only comment is a request to get a list back of the actual transfers that were made, which I assumed would happen anyway, but just wanted to voice it.
Anyone else? Any public comment? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. On the motion made by Jenny, second by Donnie, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving along to C, SRO contracts. Do I have a motion? Second. Moved by Chris and second by Kayla to approve the SRO contracts. Do I have any discussion or questions?
Was I just reading things into it, or was there a pretty hefty increase this year, and do we know why?
The number one is the contract, and it'll have the changes. You can see the differences. Then number two are the actual contracts. Because I believe the city gave raises to their law enforcement, I believe. And it was in one of the many meetings that I attended for the city council that I believe they did finalize their negotiations. So we're obviously subject to the.
Did you say the changes were outlined in the contract? Or
Yeah,
I
if you
just
look
need to
at,
read
if
it?
you look at the contract, the number one, I guess, on there, you pull it up and you go to like page 5, for example, you can see where they changed the numbers, just so you know what it was last year. Last year, we paid 61,962 to one and 62,149 to the other. And this year, it's 73,961 and 70,755.
So no changes to the amount of time we're getting or anything, purely negotiation?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other?
And I see it's moving to the building reserve account to pay for this. Is this a permanent move or a one-year move, or do we know? Is it sustainable?
Right now, it's gonna be a 1 year. Next year, whether we get a building reserve levy
Right.
passed,
We are able to permissively levy a certain amount in building reserve. That will come out of that permissively levied for safety.
Any other questions? Comments? Anything from the public? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. We have a motion on the table by Chris, a second by Kayla. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the Sodexo contract. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the Sodexo contract.
Second. We have a motion by Donnie and a second by Kayla. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
Basically, Chris, we sign a contract with them, we sign a 5-year. And then we just renew it every year until 5 years of demo. And I think next year is the year we come up with the big contract.
And we're just seeing this amendment because this is the only contract.
Correct.
So I know that when we initially decided to go with Sodexo for our food service program, there was an agreement between the district and Sodexo that in 5 years it would be relatively cost neutral. And that never happened. Have there been any additional discussions in that direction?
Not in my tenure here.
Not that I know.
I just bring it up because we were pretty adamant about that in the beginning, that that was the reason we were going with them, because they were promising that the cost was going to come down, they were going to find cost savings over a period of time, because they are expensive to have doing our food service program for us. And I don't know, I just feel like letting them off the hook. The longer we're with them, the more ingrained we are and the harder it would be to get out. It's probably almost too hard now. We're pretty far down the road, but I just,
Well,
Didn't want anybody to forget.
maybe since we're next year, we're back to renegotiating the whole contract. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that next year, before we get to this point, that we really look at, and I don't know if there's other options for us for people to bid for it, but that we look at those options or negotiate that, because and weigh our options, I guess, moving forward on what that looks like. Because yes, if it's not neutral, or we don't feel like it's saving us money or it's costing us money, we need to look at what our options are there, whether it's doing it internally again or whatever that looks like.
I'd agree with you, Renee. It's a good time to start looking into that. Maybe one of the committees can pick it up, or Matt can spearhead it, and then we can bring it back for discussion over, during the winter, something.
I'm sure probably when they were negotiating that, Donnie, that they weren't expecting the jump from $10 an hour to $18 an hour for their employees either, but I think their benefits probably are a little more rich than our benefits. By one of the reasons.
We actually we actually hire all staff.
we do, and that was part of the issue, they said, with why they couldn't get the costs down, is because they had to follow our negotiated agreements. But we also at the time didn't want to force our employees away and into their system, because then they lose their PERS retirement. But I don't know, maybe we just need to look at everything again.
Always good to take a big step back and look at the big picture.
Do they just have one director, or do they have a director and an assistant director, or?
Just a director. And she does a great job. I mean, she does a really good job. So we like the service as far as, I mean, she's basically one of the employees. Very easy to get along with, very quick to work with us on everything, any problems that we have. I mean, they've been good to work with.
One of the things I've noticed since I've been here, we haven't had to borrow, borrow from the general account to fund the food service account. We've always had, a good balance in the food service account. I've been here now. Next year, we are able to get free meals for both, for South, Graff, and
West.
so we're gonna do that. It might affect the balance a little bit, but I do have to admit that, since I've been here, we haven't had to borrow. And yeah, I know in Fromberg, we always had to.
That's the CEP programming is why we're qualifying, yeah.
Anything else from the board? Any public comment?
Marcy is here. She's our Sodexo rep. So if you have any questions, now's the time.
Can I ask a question of her? Are you managing the summer feeding program? That's a good program.
Can you,
Getting nearly the amount of kids that we did at the library, but it's been better than we expected it to be. So I'm pretty happy with it still.
We actually did.
It's been pretty slow. Last week and this week have been pretty slow.
With the way the summer program works, it's going to sound stupid because it sounds stupid when I say it. But the federal government chooses where in Laurel, Montana we can serve kids. Yeah, I know, it sounds dumb as it comes out of my mouth. So I've had a lot of conversations at the state level wondering why Washington, D.C. says we can't serve at Thompson Park, whether it's more centrally located, and there's a butt ton of kids at the water park, as opposed to they only say, no, you can only serve here, 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 because apparently that's too rich of a neighborhood.
The thing I find out is serve at Thompson Park, but we could have done it in the post office parking lot, which is right across the street. We can't serve at the middle school, but we can serve at Nutting Park, which is right. We could have served at the construction site over across the street from middle school back there, but we can't serve.
We also could have served up near the really, really big homes near the golf course.
Yeah.
That would have been legal. We could have served there according to the federal government.
But we did have our OPI review this year. We get a review from OPI every 5 years, and we did. She said that was the best one that she'd seen so far this summer. So we're doing things right and doing things good.
Sorry, I'm just full of questions tonight. Is our program the only one in town this year? Oh,
Is doing something somewhere. I think they were not going to do it down at that trailer park on Maryland and whatever, but then they changed their mind and decided to, because we had thought about doing it down there to get those students and kids, but then they decided to do it there, so we didn't. Plus, there's really no place to set up over there because they have their little van that they use. Yeah, and plus, I don't know, we are getting the school summer school students that are at Graff. They're walking over afterwards. They come over, so we get a few of those, and they almost always have a baggie full of goodies and stuff too. So I'm not sure what they're getting there, if they're getting like backpack stuff.
They get something that they've been given, get Graff. They choose to take it. It's more snacks than it is a lunch, but
we've been averaging, I want to say about 20 a day, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes less. When the sports camp was going on at the beginning, we got quite a few from that came over. And Nancy at the library's been trying to send people over after the book buzz and stuff on Wednesdays and stuff for us too. So I think we're,
So this is more of a question on where we can have it. So is this the first year they've told us where we can have it, or last
No,
year they
it-
said we could have it at the
It
library and then they
alternates.
changed their
Yeah, and
mind?
then suddenly the library became a more affluent part of town. So they've taken away the ability for us to do it at the library. Again, there's not a lot of logic. I tried calling Washington DC, to be honest, and I got a number from the state rep, and I knew no one's gonna listen to me, but I just wanted to yell at somebody. And I just find it super interesting how they plan this out. That, well, we can't really serve meals in the parking lot of the post office. So I said, can we just get an exemption just to serve across the street? Just
Well,
because
and-
there's a grass and a,
West School did qualify, and we could have done it there, but
but that,
with the construction, you would think that they would give us a little bit of a leeway.
but
Because,
they don't care about
oh,
construction.
they don't know and they don't care, so.
Graph is too afloat. And so is like the middle school. We had middle school, summer school last year at the middle school. Even though we were cooking the middle school, we couldn't legally hand them lunches on our way out to go somewhere and just give the kids who were at summer school. In the middle school, we couldn't feed them there. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't want to sound bitter.
It's silly.
And they have to physically eat there, correct? They
Yes,
can't
they're-
pick it up and take it?
Well,
They're supposed to eat on
that's the
site.
rule, but there's no one and no way we can sit there and stop them.
And
from
when,
walking
like,
away.
when one day it was pouring rain and I was wearing my winter coat out there, and there's no shelter at that
Get your
point.
stuff and go.
So we let them go to their car and then they do whatever they want to. The one day when the wind was blowing 90 miles an hour, they couldn't sit out there and eat their food, so we told them they could go.
That's why we wanted a park, which is why we wanted grass, which is why we wanted trees, you know. Imagine Thompson Park with that 50 kids there every day playing in this water.
We
It's what
also
it
have
is.
had, one gentleman's walked by, he walks by every day and he's donated $50 so far to us for that, so, yeah, it was very nice.
Marcy, you do an awesome job with the summer program and our regular school program. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. We have a motion by Donnie and a second by Kayla. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is policy 3311, annual review of the firearms and other weapons. This is a policy that we're required to review and approve every year. So nothing has changed on it, but we're required to look at it and make sure there's nothing that we would like changed. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve policy 3311.
A motion to approve by Jenny, a second by Chris. Is there any discussion or questions from the board?
This is the policy that gives even staff the permission to carry firearms? No, okay. I was just reading the,
This is a policy that just talks about the penalties for having weapons and firearms and weapons on campus. It outlines what the board's responsibilities are by law. But it has nothing to do with that policy you're talking about, Keely. Good question.
Else from the board? Any public comment? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. We have a motion by Jenny and a second by Chris. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next, item F, Big Brothers Big Sisters contract. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the contract with Big Brothers Big Sisters.
A motion to approve by Donnie and a second by Chris. Do we have any discussion or questions from the board?
Do we know, is there any changes from last year? Pretty much.
Yeah, no changes. We don't supply, they pay the person. We supply the room. Hopefully we have them in a classroom this year instead of the auditorium. But no, they're pretty buttoned up. The last year they've buttoned up their program quite a bit. It was a little loosey-goosey when I first got here, and they've really taken a lot of pride in these two young ladies that are doing this right now. The coordinator and then our teacher, both are taking this pretty serious. Very happy with what we're seeing.
Is it the same teacher from last year?
Who is that teacher?
You were gonna ask me. Yeah, I can't remember her name. But because we'll have an open classroom, I believe the administration talked about moving her into a classroom, her own. So didn't have to fight with everybody else. Yep. Yep.
Comments or questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. We have a motion on the table from Donnie, a second by Chris. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is G, the administration building buy-sell amendment. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the amendment to the administration building buy-sell.
I'll second.
Do we have any questions from the board or comments from the board? Matt, do you want to give a little?
Yeah, basically we had some interest from a community member on this old playground equipment right here, which because it's cemented into the ground, it's part of the purchase, but the buyer doesn't want it. And he said, yeah, if someone's willing to give you something, I'll sign a deal and, you know, let you guys take it out. He didn't care about it. They're going to trash it anyway. So if someone going to come and take that at least.
I was just thinking about surplus property, but it's already been declared as part of the building.
I would imagine, yeah. That's kind of what we thought too. They've offered us a few $100s and they're going to come in and dig it up. And that's a lot of concrete, but they seem to be confident.
We're talking about the playground equipment
Next-
south of the gymnasium,
Yeah,
and then
just
what about
right out the
what
window.
about the Head Start equipment? Are we gonna do that too, or,
This stuff right here in the fence.
and then there's some on the south of this building?
I think that's the only stuff is the stuff on the south. No, not that, just this one. But they're gonna take care of it. Right, Wayne? Yep. They got the stuff to come in and take it out. More power to them. It's all yours.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Any public comment? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. We have a motion by Jenny and a second by Donnie. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item H, new bus routes. Do I have a motion? Yes, we can go ahead and, is that everybody okay with that? Go
So
ahead.
this recommendation is for all the routes for next, I mean, the routes we know of, special ed, maybe not, but is that what this,
That is my understanding, because I think they had the county meeting last week, Julie.
Are we still doing a 3-mile radius, nothing closer?
Sorta. We're gonna do what we have for the last 2 years. We have a few places where even though technically you're within the 3 miles, we are picking them up because it's what's best for the kids. For example, the trailer park on the end of Maryland. There's various other places, but we are trying to pick up what we can with the drivers that we have. There's some people we've had to say no to. I mean, we get it, but we're trying to do what we can for as many people as we can.
Word before we,
as long as we're on the question roll. Do we know how many routes there are? I tried counting them, but it was like, okay, is this count as 1 or 2? And are we
You know
down,
what?
up? Do we have enough? What's the
We're
status?
down probably 1 route from last year. I can't remember the number exactly, but we're down, looks like possibly 1. Of course, I think we're still advertising for bus drivers though. Yeah. Oh, yeah, always will be. I mean, because it's transportation, that's permissively levied. So we had 5 drivers show up next week who wanted to drive. We could extend some, some routes again. And I think people are starting to understand that there's limited routes pick up in town. There just is. That's just the way the world works. But if we were to get a bunch more drivers, routes, we pick up more kids.
Are we still not having to offer any individual contracts? Are we able?
No, I don't believe so. There's the chance, but I don't think that we talked about it this few weeks ago, but right now I think we're okay. Well, I think so. Yeah. Should be in pretty good shape. It's not perfect, but probably not going to go back to 20 years ago or anything.
Are there any routes on this list that are a route we need but doesn't have a driver, just so that we have that in place?
Not as of right now. She was combining 2 routes into one. Thought we could make it work to reduce it by 1. That still allows us to do some in-city transfers, especially for teacher kids, things like that. People struggle to get their kids to school on time.
any other questions or comments from the board? Any public comment? Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the new bus routes.
I'll second. Any other comment or discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. We have a motion by Jenny and seconded by myself. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item I, 2425 bus route, permission to allow Joliet School District to enter LPS School District. Do I have a motion? Or do we want discussion first?
Everyone kind of understand what this is? Just kind of a yearly thing. That we're going to send a letter to them to ask for permission to be on a couple of their roads. What we always, it is approved yearly. What we always want to avoid is, let's say Laurel was willing, we had all these extra bus drivers. So Laurel's willing to drive a bus, park it in the middle of Park City, pick up any kid that wants to come to Laurel since we're taking out of district kids. Well, they would have to approve that. They might look at us and go, why would we allow a bus to come in and just pick up tons of kids? Why would we allow that? Someone to send a bus into our district. So it's very controlled. And that's all this is they just they're on a couple of roads that zip in and out of our district and vice versa. That's all it is.
Bonnie?
The biggest part of this, the fact that the high school, that's their high school district and our elementary, so we gotta,
But that wouldn't matter if they want to drive on a road that's in our district for any reason. We have to have our permission, and vice versa.
So do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the, or grant the permission for the Joliet School District to enter into our district for 24-25 school year.
Is there any other discussion or comment from the board? Any public comment? Hearing none, we will go ahead and vote. We have a motion by Donnie and a second by Jenny. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So next on the agenda, we have the superintendent's report. The only thing under that is resignations. Anybody have any questions or comments on that? Any public comment? Next, we'll move to informational items. Historical analysis of budget funds at elementary and high school. Julie, do you have anything you want to add, or does the board have any questions, comments?
No, it's just interesting if you look at it, just to see how it's been done, you know, and there's been 3 clerks involved in this last 10 years. So it's kind of interesting just to see how it plays out every year. Anybody's interested in those kind of statistics? There you go.
It was interesting to look at. And anything? Go ahead.
It's based on enrollment, right? A and B? I guess I'm just dense. Is the enrollment declining? Okay, well.
Montana's seen an overall decline in enrollment.
Any bump after COVID? A bump back up after COVID?
Really.
Oh, okay.
Now there's not less kids in the state of Montana. Montana's seen a surge in the number of students out there, but the ones that are attending public schools have dropped statewide.
Other questions or comments from the board? Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to the 24-25 budget. Do we have any questions from the board? Comments? Or Julie?
I'll just comment, this is, you know, preliminary, of course. I'll have the actual figures to you at the next meeting. And, you know, the mills will change because we don't have the updated taxable valuations till August 1st. And so those will change, and there could be, you know, a few other little changes after I get done with the trustees' financial summary. You know, and things change. It's a moving target. So anyway, I'll have an updated one, you know, come next meeting, but this kind of gives you something to look at. If you have any questions, feel free.
Kind of a preview of what we will see. Some of it may change, but it won't be too earth-shattering. Any other questions, comments? Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we will move on to bond expenditures. Any questions or comment from the board? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to future discussion items. Does anybody have anything they would like to see on the agenda or things that we're still waiting on? I know Brittany has a list, but public comment? Hearing none, we will go ahead and adjourn.